Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, and I know that many of you are feeling at least somewhat discouraged, frankly disgusted, by what we're seeing happening to our nation, so much of the collective West. So what I wanted to do is encourage you with this video, because I want to show you that we're going through a massive, massive paradigm shift. In fact, it's not one paradigm shift, it's not two, it's not three. You may have guessed, it's actually 10 paradigm shifts that are absolutely shattering the globalist elite establishment. And I'm indebted to a wonderful article in the American Thinker by J.B. Shirk, who writes for The Federalist. He provides 10 different yet interrelated paradigm shifts that are indeed destroying the globalist powers that be and guaranteeing a return to faith, family, and freedom in our nation and throughout the collective West. Paradigm shift number one, good versus evil. Now, not long ago, conservatives viewed the left as, well, mistaken or in denial of facts or just plain wrong. But now, more and more people recognizing that the woke left has frankly gone nuts. As Jordan Peterson has noted, the culture wars today are very different than they were in the 1990s. In the 90s, during the Clinton era, the culture wars were, there were contestation over different values and opinions surrounding moral issues. Today, by contrast, the culture wars are happening because one side has gone utterly insane. The left today tries to champion women's rights, all the while openly admitting they don't know what a woman is. The left has gone insane, and more people are recognizing that insanity, they're recognizing that insanity is aligning itself with evil, which is by definition absurdity. So the left's real mission now is to reject reality by imposing the absurdities of wokeness, which has them de facto defending border conditions conducive to human trafficking and drug smuggling. More and more people recognizing that the left isn't simply wrong, the left is evil. Paradigm shift number two, parties versus uniparty. There's been a seismic shift in the way more and more people view the two major political parties. Back in 2010, pollsters Scott Rasmussen and Doug Schoen published their study on the Tea Party movement. It was entitled Mad as Hell, and they found substantial data that showed that there was, in fact, a major paradigm shift taking place among the American electorate, where the old political divides between, say, left and right, liberal versus conservative, they were dying away. And a new political divide between the people versus the permanent political class was increasingly emerging. Voters aren't seeing parties anymore. They're seeing an elite ruling class. And both Trump and Bobby Kennedy Jr. indicate that voters are ready to overthrow the elite establishment in both parties. Paradigm shift number three, science versus political manipulation. Perhaps the only good thing to come out of the government's COVID lockdowns was the realization that science really can be radically politicized and weaponized. We saw a federal government try to institute unconstitutional mandates. We saw how deep state agents and big tech companies colluded together to silence anyone who dissented from the official state narrative. And we saw the legacy media repeatedly lie about and disparage those who question the source of the virus. And again, with Bobby Kennedy in the Democrat race, it appears that voters in both parties are determined to overthrow the nefarious forces that made such draconian measures possible. Paradigm shift number four, self-determination versus global government. Similar to what we've been seeing with our political parties, more and more voters recognize that the fundamental political divide is no longer left versus right, but globalism versus nationalism. Deep state bureaucrats and politicians continue to deliberately attempt to thwart the will of the people and push for globalist rule. They surrender national sovereignty to the World Health Organization, to the World Economic Forum, to the International Monetary Fund. And more people than ever are waking up to this. Even the new leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, Pierre Poilievre, he's banning any member of the WEF from working in his administration. Gang, before you do anything else, make sure to click on that link below and visit our good friends over at Home Title Lock. Yeah, I got to admit, I was totally shocked when I was recently shown just how easy it is to access the deed to my house. And not just access it, but actually change it. The deed to your home is the only document that proves you own it. But the problem is that the deeds to all our homes are now online, and criminals are free to find your deed, forge your signature, refile as the new owner of your home, take tons of loans out using your home's equity, and then they just stick you with all the debt. But that's where our good friends over at Home Title Lock come in. Gang, they're absolutely amazing. Home Title Lock gives you the peace of mind that the deed to your home is absolutely and completely protected. Click on that link below right now and use promo code TurleyTalks. Then all you got to do is enter your address for your no-obligation home title scan to see if you've already been a victim of deed theft. That's a $100 value, absolutely, totally free with my promo code TurleyTalks. Gang, don't wait for the worst to happen, only to regret that you didn't do something about it when you could have. Do what I've done and countless patriots have done. Click on that link below right now and secure your home today. Paradigm shift number 5, election versus selections. As much as big tech and legacy media did everything they could to cover it up, all elections are now tainted by concerns over allegations of fraud. In fact, a recent Rasmussen poll found that 66% of likely voters believed that the outcome in the midterms were likely affected by fraud, with more and more people coming to the realization that things are not automatically pristine when it comes to vote counting. Any shenanigans by the establishment will increasingly get exposed. Paradigm shift number 6, free speech versus propaganda. One of the most important developments coming out of the Twitter files was exposing the extent to which the legacy media, the government, and big tech platforms sought to stifle and suppress free speech. Everyone in turn saw how the legacy media covered up for Joe Biden by suppressing the Hunter Biden laptop bombshell, and even liberals like Bill Maher are rising up and pushing back against woke radicals and their vicious attacks on the freedom of speech. More Americans today recognize that they're being lied to than ever before, and they recognize the increasingly futile attempts to silence them. Paradigm shift number 7, money versus control. People are beginning to realize that free market doesn't mean what we always thought it meant. Today, we're seeing an astonishing concentration of wealth and power where very few people control pretty much everything. 5 years ago, about 400 billionaires owned half the world's assets. Today, it's only 100. And this concentration of wealth is comprised of both billionaires and bureaucrats, so that politicians and woke CEOs are ganging up and weaponizing the monetary and consumer system against patriots, most notably instituting of late the deplorable practice of debanking. But that has inadvertently awakened a parallel economy that's taking the woke economy by storm, as we've seen with Elon Musk's takeover of Twitter and the box office coup and the smash hit of The Sound of Freedom that Hollywood did everything it could to suppress. Paradigm shift number 8, impartial justice versus targeted persecution. More people than ever recognize that the criminal justice system has become a weapon in targeting political opponents by corrupt deep state bureaucrats. Trafalgar polling recently found that 79% of Americans believe that we live in a two-tier justice system that deliberately protects the establishment at the expense of average citizens. The most recent Harvard-Harris poll found that 55% of the population believes that the federal indictment against President Trump is totally politically motivated. 56% believe that it's a deliberate interference in the 2024 election by Biden's Justice Department. A supermajority is emerging that's ready to push back against this weaponized legalism and restore the rule of law. Paradigm shift number 9, republic versus empire. Mark Twain noted, America cannot have an empire abroad and a republic at home. The whole purpose of Make America Great Again is to restore national sovereignty and, most importantly, national concern. We all saw how Tucker ended Mike Pence's career in 60 seconds by getting him to admit that America was not his concern. The days of America overseeing a globalist empire are indeed coming to an end. Paradigm shift number 10, Civil War versus Revolution for Independence. As Americans come to terms with what our country's become, they're realizing that the federal government has purposely divided Americans against one another. This resembles the Revolutionary War more than the Civil War, as a struggle against government tyranny. Now, the good news is that we together are actually more united than we've ever been. We, the people, are more anti-war than we've ever been, even more than during the height of the Vietnam era. And yet our permanent political class is absolutely obsessed with going to war. War with Russia, war with China, war with Iran. We've never been less racist than we are right now. Virtually every study out there shows that racism has plummeted in our nation. And yet our permanent political class has never been more obsessed with accusing us of racism. We, the people, are more united than ever before. And so are ruling elite are doing everything they possibly can to divide us. But we're not going to let them. We're not facing a civil war. This is a new revolution for independence. This is a great awakening. And there's nothing our ruling elite can do to stop it. Are you ready to join the resistance? Because I'm leading a group of dedicated, courageous patriots who can lead a spearhead into the heart of the secular globalist establishment. We punished Bud Light and Target, driven CNN and the legacy media to near bankruptcy, forced BlackRock to backtrack on ESG, and now we're seeing our conservative-dominated Supreme Court ending affirmative action and protecting religious liberty. In my Insiders Club, I show you concrete steps to take locally and online that will only keep this mass uprising going until the battle is won. Don't wait. Click the link in my description below and join my Courageous Patriots Insiders Club today.